Hello, it says I'm live. Merry Christmas or day after or something like that. What am I trying to do here? Where am I trying to go? Because everything is backwards on here. I think I'm trying to put it a smidge that way, maybe a smidge the other way. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. How are you guys? I hope you had a good Christmas. It's the day after. It's about 3:15 on December 26th, 2004, coming into the final stretch of this year. And I'm just happy to be showing off my new lights. They're kind of the same lights, but kind of different anyway. Man, I came on live for a 2-hour thing last night. That was longer than I was planning. So I was hoping just to be on for about an hour right now. If you are here and can hear me, it looks like nobody's here. I'm all by myself. I wanted to talk with you guys about some crapola. But first, let's talk about some good stuff. Let me go over my basics, right? That's always important. Hit your like button if you don't mind. It helps my algorithm, and I appreciate it. I apologize for this. I try to avoid that, but it happens. Hit the sub button. Hey, someone's here. Hello. Hit your sub button. Make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed, and if you're not, please consider it. It's very helpful for the algorithm. Turn on your notification bell to ring. I guess that notifications just aren't really a thing on true crime because YouTube hates true crime, even though we make them a heck of a lot of money. And share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like this channel. And what did I want to talk with you about? I wanted to talk with you about, I don't know, why I didn't watch the halftime thing from the NFL yesterday. MC3PO, hello. Nice to see you, sweetie. Hi, how was your Christmas? The halftime for the NFL yesterday, it was like a big white party. I just kind of watched it without sound because I just couldn't take it. I think it was like 15 minutes long, and the whole thing just made me want to Ralph. I'll just be straight up. You know me. I like to be direct. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation and open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. All the videos that I've made to date have been for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. So as you probably know by now, Queen Bee did the halftime performance thing yesterday that was just like beyond decadent, over the top, ludicrous, in my humble opinion. And not only was she wearing all white, everybody was wearing all white, and there were probably like 1,000 people in it. I'm not even exaggerating. That's just my opinion, that there was close to 1,000 people in it. It certainly seemed that way. But like I said, I didn't really watch the whole thing. I was just kind of looking at it. But I was like, what kind of poor taste is that to be doing all white when your boy is kind of in a little bit of trouble for the white party, right? Hey, Anna B, what up? Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you had a really good day yesterday. I know, Anna B, you were here yesterday and said you had a good Christmas. And C3PO, I hope you had a good Christmas too. I hope everybody did that's watching. And if you didn't and you want to share, or if you did and you want to share, my ears are open. I like to listen. I really do. I just don't have the technology to, do the panel thing because I like to keep it low tech because I'm low tech, which is why it's such a miracle that I even have a YouTube channel. But enough about me. Let's talk about the cases. So the thing with the white party, the halftime, it's like more gaslighting. It's like, what are they trying to do? Like pretend that it's not happening? I'm low tech too. Oh, Anna Bees, you and I are like twinsy bobs, huh? Bobsy twins. Yeah, I mean, I have an iPhone and I have a laptop and I use them. Believe it or not, I used to like never even Google anything. It was probably no more than 4 years ago that I never, ever, ever Googled anything. Probably when I started my YouTube channel was when I started Googling everything. But, you know, I barely trust Google because I know that Google will tell you smack and it'll give you the wrong directions. Like, you have to know your way around town. It's fine to Google directions, but it's good to know your way around. And it's good to keep a healthy skepticism with Google, just like you do with any content creator, because ultimately it's a person behind Google. And yeah, anyway, I don't want to go off into my little philosophy thing. What I want to talk about is that white party crapola. I want to talk about Koberger and the whole thing with like the guilters and then the fanboys of, you know, I don't know if you say fangirl, but it's like, why are there people so invested in him being guilty? And why are there people so invested in him being innocent? I could see somebody thinking that I might be one of these people that's invested in him being innocent. Hey, Fred Field, but I am not. I mean, if he's guilty, then, you know, that is what it is. There's so many holes in the prosecution's case and their story, and just the whole thing just reeks to high heaven. I don't want to go into it too much at the moment because I want to just kind of give you guys a thumbnail of what I want to talk about today. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was RFK, you guys. Remember, if you were watching my video from the other day, I was talking about the Martha Moxley case, and that's the case from 1976, I think. It might be 1975, in Greenwich Village, Connecticut, that took decades to solve. And the reason it took decades to solve, in my opinion, is because Kennedy's, the Skakel family, Michael Skakel, was finally arrested for it. So I did some more research after I talked about it on my channel, and I found this whole article about the 23-year-old guy that moved in right before it happened. Like, the day that it happened was his first day on the job. So I was going to pull an article up if I can find it, and I was going to try to find it before I came on, but then I thought I'll never come on if I'm trying to do all the things I'm trying to do. Okay, so Martha Moxley. Oh, one of the mistakes that I made with the Skakel family is that it wasn't 7 sons in the Skakel family. It was 7 kids. One of them is a sister. And isn't Michael Skakel the youngest, I believe? But the 2 youngest, Michael and his older brother, seemed to kind of be like the problem child. And understandably so. Their mother had passed away from cancer. And then it seems like most of the people in the household had a major alcohol issue. Again, understandably so, with somebody having watched their mother pass away from cancer. That's seriously sad. So the Skakel family hired this guy from the private school that the boys went to, and they called him the tutor, but he was really the babysitter. He was, I said, a 23-year-old young man. His name was Kenneth Littleton. And it says here, the AI overview. He was the live-in tutor for the Skakel family, who became a prime suspect in the Red Rum of Martha Moxley. Littleton began working for the family just hours before the Red Rum. Other details about the Red Rum of Martha Moxley and the Skakel family include Thomas Skakel was the last person seen with Moxley on the night of the murder. Sorry, Red Rum. And became a prime suspect. However, his father prevented access to his school and mental health records. So Michael Skakel and Thomas Skakel, I think, were the 2 youngest. And Michael was the same age as Martha. Thomas was a couple years older. And it seems like Martha had a thing for Thomas, and that they were, you know, messing around, not just that night, but other nights possibly too. I think her and her family had only been living next door for like a year and a half. But it brings up a really good point, which is when you look for a new job, when you look for a new house or apartment, whatever it is, you really want to find out like why it's available and what the history is. Because for all we know, the people that moved out of that home moved out of there because of the rowdy neighbors next door, possibly. So Michael Skakel, cousin of RFK, was also suspect and was convicted and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison in 2002. It didn't even say what year this was. I think it was 76. It might have been 75, like I said a minute ago. He served more than half of his sentence before being released on bond in 2013. A judge ordered Skakel to be tried as an adult because Connecticut's juvenile system was not equipped to punish a 40-year-old defendant. Sometimes AI does not make sense, does it? Oh, the juvenile system was not equipped to punish a 40-year-old. Okay, that makes sense. Plus, 15 and a brutal homicide like that would normally be somebody tried as a grown-up. The case languished for decades before anyone was charged. The reason that a case like that would normally be the defendant would be tried as an adult is because the violence is so heinous, and if the person's tried as a child, that won't go into their permanent record, and that type of heinous crime you need in the permanent record. So let's see. It was October 30th, 1975. So it was the night before Halloween. And what was the thing about Littleton? The guy, his life was ruined. And RFK Jr., you guys, was really close with the Skakel family. So I found that fascinating, especially because Michael Skakel was sprung the second time on the 45th year anniversary of the homicide. So it was October 30th of 2020. It was a week before the election, the presidential election. And our president-elect right now was the president at the time. And so he may or may not have something to do with Michael Skakel getting sprung and basically let completely off the hook, even though he was convicted twice. And then I found it very interesting that RFK Jr. is tight with the president-elect now, and that the things that he's done, that he's admitted to, like with the bear in Central Park, with the whale, with his family, with his infidelity. So for a while there, I want to say that there were rumors that William Kennedy Smith was at the Skakel home the night that this happened. And we all remember who William Kennedy Smith is, right? He was tried for an essay, and he was also tight with these boys. Okay, so here, I'm going to read you what it says here on Wikipedia. Martha Elizabeth Moxley, August 16th, 1960 to October 30th, 1975, was a 15-year-old American high school student from Greenwich, Connecticut, who was red-rummed in 1975. Last seen alive, spending time at the home of the Skakel family. And remember, this tutor, Littleton, had just moved in. Across the street from her home in Belhaven. Michael Skakel, also age 15 at the time, was convicted in 2002 for the red rum of Moxley and was sentenced to 20 years. In 2013, he was granted a new trial by a Connecticut judge who ruled that his counsel had been inadequate, and he was released on $1.2 million bail, which, you know, for Kennedy, that's chump change, in my humble opinion. On December 30th, 2016, the Connecticut Supreme Court ruled 4-3 to reinstate Skakels' conviction. The Connecticut Supreme Court reversed itself on May 4th, 2018, and ordered a new trial. On October 30th, 2020, the 45th anniversary of Moxley's Red Rum, the state of Connecticut announced it would not retry Skakel for Moxley's Red Rum. The case attracted worldwide publicity as Skakel was the nephew of Edith Skakel Kennedy, the widow of Senator RFK. And let me let the doggy in. Let me kick everything over. You know, that's like my hobby here, huh? Come here, Coco. What you doing, girl? I don't have any food in here. I actually had some dog food in her earlier, so she might be wanting to get some dog food. You can't see her, can you? She's down here she's got a cute little Christmas bandana on. I'll see if I can get her up here. Anyway, the whole thing with the injustice, or the way the justice system is built to protect the rich and famous, is pretty heinous in my opinion. And then especially like what we're seeing right now with Puffy and Daisy. Come here, Coco. Come here. Up. Come here, baby. Up. Come here. Come here. Come on, Coco. Up. Come on. No. Up. No. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. Up, up. Come here. Oh, the other one wants to come in. Come here, girl. Sometimes she stands up for me. She's just not feeling it at the moment. Maybe we've given her too much Christmas treats. Come here, Mookie. What's up, baby girl? Come on in. We're having a dog party. And all the dogs are invited. Okay. So, how many folks do I have here now? I have 6. I have 3 likes. Please hit that like button so we have everybody liking the thing, the podcast, whatever you call it. I'm going to drink some coffee, see if my brain will kick in. Thanks for the hearts. I really appreciate that. So, yeah. The things that I learned when I read this article about this Littleton guy were so tragic. Like, that Skakel family and that one night destroyed this man's life. He was 23 years old. He was a teacher at the prep school that they went to in Greenwich, Connecticut. A very hard job to get. He was also a coach. He, I think, was also a tutor. So he moved into their mansion with them, probably thought it was like the dream job. And then he became the prime suspect. And then it seems like the Skakel family continued to use him as the prime suspect. Let me see if I can find that article. I think it's like that in just regular people too. So Littleton, is that his name? Oh, here's something. Did he write this for the New York Post in 2017? It says, I tutored a Kennedy relative and wound up accused of Red Rum. I mean, his life was destroyed for decades. I'm surprised that they let him live, because they used him as the scapegoat. And a lot of times those people, there's a photograph of him, Littleton, when he's an older gentleman, and Martha Moxley. You can see she's adorable. She's absolutely adorable. And she did have an older brother. Okay. It says, as soon as he saw the chipmunk, he knew Michael Skakel was the iller with a K. Kenneth Littleton, that's a great way to start an article. The chipmunk. Kenneth Little. Oh, it must have been a deceased chipmunk, right? It may be in his room or something. Let's find out. Kenneth Littleton, a 23-year-old teacher who had been hired to tutor Michael and his 6 siblings at their sprawling Connecticut mansion, saw the deceased chipmunk on the grounds of Belhaven Country Club. The small furry animal had been mashed with a golf club and then crucified, nailed to a patch of grass with golf tees. Horrifying. And honestly, I literally love chipmunks. They're one of my favorite creatures. So I already hated the man enough. That's horrific. Littleton immediately confronted Michael, who at 15 was already a budding alcoholic with a mean streak and a dangerous sense of entitlement. Did you do this, Michael? Because again, Littleton was hired to keep the kids in order. Like his job title was tutor, but he was really there to prevent them from acting crazy. Because the dad was an attorney and he didn't have time to try to keep his kids from acting crazy. Is it going to give me more of this article or what? Man, don't you hate that? New York Post is really bad for that. And then it's showing me all these nasty pictures of stupid stuff that I really don't need to see. And that's it. That's ridiculous. It says explore more, but there's no like place. Here we go. Who else could have done it, Kenny? Was Michael's eerie reply. Read more. Okay, there's my button. Who else could have done it? Was Michael's reply. The incident stuck with Littleton because it took place just weeks after the vicious red rum of Martha Moxley, the Skakels clan's 15-year-old next door neighbor. Mookie, come here, baby. Come here. I knew he had committed the red rum in my heart, said Littleton. A day before Halloween in 1975, Moxley was bludgeoned to end her life with a golf club. The blows were so vicious that the club, a 6-iron that belonged to the Skakels, was shattered into pieces. He was a dangerous package, said Littleton, now 65 years old. Wow, when was this written again? Just like, I think 7 years ago, 2017. He was a dangerous package. That's an interesting way to describe it. So he'd be 72 now, this man, Littleton. His former charge in investigation discoveries guilty rich. Oh, so there's an ID show about it. I gotta watch that, which will air the former tutor's first lengthy interview about the notorious case on October 5th. Oh, I'm so glad I discovered that. Oh, man. Michael Skakels was eventually convicted of Moxley's brutal red rum, but only in 2002, nearly 30 years after her life ended. In the meantime, Littleton was fingered twice as a suspect, enduring unfound accusations and dirty tricks, policing that he says made his life a living hell. Littleton, a science teacher from a working class background, was ill-equipped to take on a powerful East Coast family related to the Kennedys, and blames the trauma for his descent into alcohol and mental illness. Littleton, who now lives in a New England town he would not disclose to the Post, says he was a scapegoat for small town cops who appeared too timid to take on the wealthy Skakels. And really, police are ill-equipped to take on wealthy types like that, including wealthy types like Daisy and Puffy, in my opinion. Littleton now considers himself the forgotten victim of one of the country's most notorious red rum cases. I trusted them, said Littleton of the Connecticut police and the Skakels family. Little did I know. Right, he probably spoke with the law enforcement routinely without legal representation, and I'm pretty sure that the Skakels father was an actual attorney. So not just a Kennedy, but an attorney. Like, what a dangerous combination. On October 30th, 1975, Littleton, then 23, drove his red Mustang to Belhaven, a leafy Greenwich, Connecticut enclave of well-tended lawns and ramblings, stone mansions, to interview for the position of tutor to the spoiled Skakels brood. Oh, that's interesting. That says he interviewed that same day. With the Skakels' wealth came severe dysfunction. The industrialist Rushton Skakels, who was RFK Jr.'s brother-in-law, was a raging alcoholic, and his eldest sons. No, these are the youngest sons. Again, this is why you got to know what you're looking at on the internet. 17-year-old Tommy and his 15-year-old Michael had severe disciplinary problems, which had grown progressively worse in the 2 years since their mother, Anna Skakel, passed away from cancer at the age of 41 in 1973. It's crazy it says that they were the two oldest sons. I'm about 100% sure that they were the two youngest sons. Following a short interview over afternoon cocktails, Rushton hired Littleton on the spot, offering him $400 a month and free room and board. And how nice to live in Greenwich, Connecticut in a millionaire's mansion, except turned out to be completely opposite. I mean, if you have the money to pay your lawyer, you can usually get off. Exactly, Anna. I know, it's so sad. So sad. I mean, look at what happened with O.J. Simpson, right? Littleton couldn't believe his luck, and on his first night, he took all 6 of the Skakels children to the exclusive Bellhaven Country Club for what he described as a luxurious dinner. Pretty sure it was 7, 6 brothers, and 1 sister. Like I said, this is too funny. Good thing I've done some research, so I know when I'm getting their errors here. Just goes to show you that, you know, people that work for the New York Post are no more accurate than any of us, right? We all just do our best. The exclusive Bellhaven Country Club for what he described as a luxurious dinner. Lamb chop steaks, hunting trips, and golf trips, said Littleton. Everything was first class. The dinner with the Skakel children, I'm pretty sure it was a supper club. They didn't say supper club, did they? Just the country club. But yeah, I think it was a supper club. Those things are for the old money. It's like a restaurant where you can only go if you're a member. And they don't have prices on the menu, and they don't charge you anything. I think they just send your family the bill at the end of the month or something. I'm not even sure. I've been to one of those places, I think, once in Wisconsin, and it was good. It was fun. It was a real small town up in like Crivitz, Wisconsin, if anybody knows Crivitz. Anyway, please believe Moxley was red-rummed just after 9 that same night. So the dinner took place at 6. Yep. Following supper, Littleton said he settled into his room at the Skakel family home to watch TV, the TV premiere of The French Connection. Tommy joined him for the famous chase scene in the movie, he said. It wasn't until the next morning at the breakfast table that Littleton first heard the name Martha Moxley, he said. The teenager had gone missing the night before, and the Skakel family cook said the Moxleys were frantic and asking if anybody had any idea of her whereabouts. So sad. Their property was very large. The Moxleys, probably the Skakels too. So she was on their property, but they didn't find her for a few hours. Let's see what it says here. The body of the popular Greenwich High School sophomore was found hours later in a clump of pine trees less than 200 yards from her front door. Her pants were pulled down, trigger warning, but police said she had not been essayed, which I'm not necessarily believing. Maybe not the R word, but maybe, why else would her pants be pulled down? Unless... Anyway, let's keep going. Pieces of a broken golf club later traced to the Skakel home, traced because it had their name on it, I believe, were found near the body. The club had been used to bludgeon and stab her to her end. I forgot about the stabbing part with the broken handle. Ugh. Although Michael and Tommy were briefly questioned by the police shortly after the body's discovery, both were quickly released. This despite Michael being the last person to have seen Martha alive and his shaky alibi that he was in a car with friends who were driving to a cousin's home at the time of the red rum. Now, I wonder if that cousin was William Kennedy Smith. I'll have to look into that. If anybody knows, please share. In order to make sure police stayed away, Rushton barred them from accessing his son's school and mental health records, which I'm sure they were heinous. Doesn't mean that he's a criminal. It just means, like, why are you blocking that unless you have something to hide? Like, I'm sure the father knew it was them. It wasn't until the summer of 1976, nearly a year after the Red Rum, that police hauled in Littleton for questioning. Littleton had been fired from his tutoring job after the eldest Skakel kids produced failing grades at school months later. He spent a drug and alcohol fueled weekend in Nantucket, where he was charged with stealing $4,000 worth of goods after breaking into a gift shop and a boat. News of his antics, which included throwing a cinder block through the shop window, caught the eye of Connecticut police detectives until they had failed to produce a suspect for motive for the unaliving. I went from total nirvana to total disaster, Littleton told the Post through a friend who visited him at the assisted living facility in New England where he resides. Wow, how sad that he was living in an assisted living facility at that age. 65, is that how old it said he was? Because this was 7 years ago, and I think I said he was 72 now. Because he was now a suspect in one of the state's biggest unsolved cases, Littleton lost his new job at an elite school in New Canaan, and his life began to spiral further out of control. Although he says he only tried Coke, the soda pop, that one night in Nantucket, he began to drink with greater frequency. He stopped teaching altogether and had trouble holding down part-time jobs. He spent time at a psychiatric hospital and attempted to end his life. And for years, he worried that the Kennedy family was out to get him. And I'm sure they were. If they could put him behind bars for the case, or have him be deceased and say, well, he either did that to himself because he couldn't take it, or, made it look like he did it to himself, even though he might have wanted to do that to himself. It's amazing that he's alive. As he was trying to put his life back together in the mid-1980s, the Greenwich Time newspaper assigned 2 reporters to investigate the way local police handled the case, or mishandled. Among their findings was that the police waited 6 months to produce a warrant and never searched the Skakel home. Oh, that's brutal. But the investigative journalist Leonard Levitt would have to wait more than 8 years for his story on the Moxley case to appear in print. Man, connections. And it was only after the Post published an interview with him on May 1st, 1991, outlining how the story was suppressed, that Greenwich Time produced the article. Within weeks of its June 2nd publication, authorities reopened the case, and again, they targeted Littleton. This time, police set up a sting in a motel room with Mary Baker, Littleton's ex-wife, who wore a wire and tried to get Littleton to confess to the crime. Littleton didn't. That is so illegal to do that. I mean, I guess they weren't married at the time, so that's how they got away with it. Littleton was eager to help in any way that I could to solve the case, and he readily agreed to be questioned by the police without a lawyer present. The move was a mistake, and Littleton was subjected to 4 days of intense interrogation, including 2 lie detector tests, which he failed. But if you remember in the Watts case, when Tammy Lee told Chris Watts that he failed miserably, she didn't show him any results. And if that's how they do it, if they just say, oh, you failed miserably, and then she was able to elicit some confession out of him, I mean, they can just say you failed, whether you failed or not. What it came down to was being investigated under the naked light bulb treatment, Littleton told the Post. And if you don't have credibility, you're 100% screwed. He recalled Jack Sullivan, the state's lead inspector, violently screaming, "You red-rummed Martha Moxley, you red-rummed Martha Moxley." Littleton was unnerved, but refused to be pressured into a confession. Says a lot about his character that he didn't cave. Many people would. It's hard to imagine unless you've ever been in a situation like that. But, they withhold sleep and food and water and just keep hammering away at you. Like if you've seen the making of a Red Rummer, the Netflix thing about Stephen Avery and his nephew, is his nephew's name Brian Dennessy or something like that, the 16-year-old that they broke down and then admitted that they knew that it was a false confession. I just told them to leave me the hell alone in stronger language than that, he said in the documentary. Ken Littleton said he had no motive and had never even met Moxley. I gave them everything I had, and then I said, shove it, said Littleton. I have no respect whatsoever for what he did to me. 8 years later, in 98, a rare one-man grand jury was convened to re-examine. One-man grand jury? Hello? Was convened to re-examine the evidence in the Moxley case. Littleton was granted immunity and his testimony about Skakel was recorded. After 18 months, it was decided that there was enough evidence to arrest Michael Skakel, then 40 and a former ski champion. He was convicted in 2002. And see, they're leaving Mark Fuhrman totally out of this article when Mark Fuhrman was single-handedly had everything to do with Michael Skakel's arrest. I'm pretty sure. That's funny. They just, Mark Fuhrman's name is mud. They don't want to put that in here. He was convicted especially since there's already enough mud in this. The whole thing is just a muddy mess. He was convicted in 2002 and was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. In 2013, a judge granted him a new trial, citing evidence that Skakel's lawyer did not adequately defend him in 2002. That's always the reason. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's the only way you get a new trial, unless there's new evidence. Skakel was released from prison last July. Skakel's cousin, RFK Jr. Oh, this is the worst. This is the worst. I'm glad I'm reading this to you. RFK Jr. in what year was that? That would have been about 2016 because it says last July, and I think this was written in 2017. He wrote a book declaring Skakel's innocence. RFK Jr., the guy with the brain worms and the whale heads and the bear meat. So gross, in my humble opinion. So he wrote a book declaring Skakel's innocence, because who cares if he's actually innocent or not, Got to do him a solid. But by December, the Connecticut Supreme Court reinstated Skakel's Red Rum conviction. As his lawyers revisited the case, Skakel, now 56, this was 7 years ago, remains free, living with relatives in Bedford, New York. For his part, Littleton said he worked up the nerve to tell his story in detail for the first time so that his two children would have no doubt that he is an innocent man. Wearing a business suit, white shirt, and tie for the documentary, he speaks with great conviction while overcome at times with emotion. I wanted to tell my story, he told the Post through a friend. I wanted to tell it badly. I got dressed to the nines, and I wanted to tell it succinctly. Wow. Good for him. I think that's the whole thing. Let me see. Yeah, people need to tell their truth. It does a world of wonder to get it off your chest, literally. Yeah, that's the whole article. So for anybody who's not familiar with that case, that should be enticing to make you want to learn more about it. And again, how it ties into some current events with RFK Jr. and with, when he was running on the independent ticket as a candidate in this last presidential election. And then he said that he would not run and then he would back up the president-elect. And yeah, I mean, he's sketchy AF, and he's going to be in charge, or he already has been appointed to be in charge of public health. Like, ugh, no thank you. And He has no regard for this deceased teenage girl, no regard for her family, no regard for truth and justice, in my opinion. Just a really sick individual. So we're just at 40 minutes, and let me get a drink of coffee here. Oh, I have 8 whole people in here with 5 likes. Yay. If the 3 that haven't hit the like, even if if you're here, please hit the like. I won't beg you anymore, promise. Scout's honor. So let's see. What am I looking at over there? That's wild. It's so funny how this is like leaves. It's fake ivy leaves, but it was looking like a person for a minute. Because over here, I actually have a person. I have a soldier. I don't know if you can make that out. Yeah, you should be able to. Anyway, that was kind of looking like a weird disembodied person to me. It's funny what the optical illusions do with the screen. And I have a tiny church. I have a tiny mailbox and a tiny bird bath. And then a tiny wishing well on top of the tiny column. I know, I'm such a goofball. Can't help it. I'm a complete nerd. I scared one away and I elicited another like out of another one. I'm kidding. Maybe I didn't scare away. Maybe they just had to go or whatever. They got bored. So this comedian that I have been telling you guys about, Josh Johnson, who Billy Darling yesterday said that she was familiar. This man is hilarious. I can't believe that I hadn't run across his material until recently. He's so good. So I linked up 2 of his specials in yesterday's video description. And something completely out of left field I want to talk with you guys about is, what do you think is up with all these ads on the internet that kind of sound like a 1960s, almost like Sergeant Friday or what's his name from the Twilight Zone? What is his name? The guy. I'll think of it in a minute. Or Google will think of it for me. He invented the Twilight Zone. I know it's silly to be looking it up. There we go. There's Rod Serling. A lot of people call him Rod Sterling, but it's Rod Serling. So, just that real dry 1960s voice. Rod Serling nailed it. Jack Webb, Sergeant Friday from Dragnet, he nailed it. But have you guys seen a lot of these ads on YouTube that are like, the government doesn't want you to know this, but you can get these glasses that you can adjust yourself and they won't get crushed by anything. And they also don't want you to know this. And it's all about weird stuff that to me looks like people planning for the apocalypse, like heating and flashlights, all different kinds of flashlights, different kinds of weapons. It really creeps me out. It really creeps me out. I see quite a trend with it on YouTube, and I haven't really talked with anybody about it. Wake and Bake with Rando. It's been a minute. Hello. Nice to see you. Hitchcock. There you go. I have premium, so no ads. I have no idea, Jazz. Well, I think about getting premium all the time. I know the price has gone up, and I don't know if that one price covers the whole family, because if it does, then that's totally worth it. But I bet you that they charge you for each person in the family, right? Because, yeah, when it was like $20 a month, or I can't remember if it's 20 now or if it used to be 20. I was very close to getting it many, many times, and then the price went up. It's one plan for everyone. Oh, seriously, I got to check that out. If it's one plan for the whole family at that one price, like 20 or 30 bucks a month, then that'd be totally worth it. Because, yeah, it's rotting my brain, and I don't need any help rotting my brain. I think I do that enough on my own. Which is why I try so hard to stay sharp. And it's 4:00. You can add people. I don't know how many people, though. Oh, interesting. Super interesting. So it's 4:00. I've been on for 45 minutes. I do need to wrap up soon. But getting back to the whole thing about the guilters and the fanboys with any case, really, but especially with the Idaho 4, it's like, why are there so many people so invested in nailing Koberger, even when there's so much evidence to dispel the suspicion, in my opinion? I understand the people involved wanting to put it on him. What I don't understand is like mainstream media wanting to put it on him. I also don't understand content creators that want to put it on him. Like, isn't the whole point of our entire judicial system innocent until proven guilty in a court of law? But if you can sway public opinion, then you're tampering with you might be tampering with you might be obstructing justice, basically, like jury tampering and stuff like that. Astro from space. Hey family, how is everyone? Orchestrated efforts in mainstream media, my opinion. Yeah, so this recent thing that I first saw on Paula Plunder, the body cam footage from October of 2021, that Koberger was named as a person of interest in that case in January of 2023, but then it was ruled out that he wasn't a person of interest anymore, basically. But that has failed to be underscored in all of the true crime videos that I've seen about it recently, other than Harsh Reality and Jewels of All Trades, and maybe one or two others. Let me know if you know of any other channels that are like looking at it as a whole. Even ABC News, they did like a 2 or 3 minute video. I think I linked it up in my description a couple days ago. In their video, they make it abundantly clear that he's not a person of interest anymore, but they do the bait and switch thing too to make it sound like he still is in the thumbnail, knowing that out of all of the people that read the thumbnail, probably 1% are going to watch your video, and probably 1% of that 1% is actually going to pay attention and get to the information, in my opinion. So it's very effective gaslighting and manipulation and propaganda. And what an embarrassment to investigative journalism across the boards. What an absolute embarrassment. And man, I ripped them up in their comment section. A lot of people did. I'd say that 90% of the people that commented ripped them up. And then there were like a few guilters who obviously didn't even watch the 3-minute video that is there. Like all of 3 minutes. Like, really, even if you have like the shortest attention span, you should be able to focus for 3 minutes. But they probably think, oh, I don't need to watch it because it's all in the thumbnail right there, and I already know he's guilty, right? It's horrible, horrible, horrible. Partial truths being sold as complete truths. Right. And when you have partial truths, that's a lie, basically. When you're leaving, lying by omission, you're lying. So it just doesn't cut it, in my opinion. I think I'm going to cut this short because I do need to wrap things up. Like I keep saying, it's only 5 minutes after 4, but we're at 50 minutes, and I wanted to get the doggies in the picture. Come here, Mookie. Come here, baby. Come on, Mookie. Come on. Do you want some coffee? No, I'm just kidding. I don't give my dogs coffee. Not very often, anyway. Come on, Mookie. Come. Come here. Come here, baby. Don't make me get up. Come here, baby. She's like, don't make me get up. And I'm like, don't make me get up. She's stretching. Come here, boo. And she's like doing the combat crawl across the floor. So her belly's getting scratched. Oh my goodness. This is, don't you love it when dogs do that? Especially little tiny wiener dogs like this. Because she's already so long and skinny and short. And then she does that little combat crawl. And she's just hilarious. There's the heart on her head that I always make sure I drew it on right before I show her to you. Kidding, of course. That's all natural. Those doggies definitely don't need coffee. I know. The other day, I think I finished my coffee, but I thought I still had some in my cup. And then it was empty. And I was like, oh, crap, did the dogs drink it? Because I do put a lot of half and half in it. So I could see them enjoying it. But I'm sure it'd be super bad for them. I'm sure it's super bad for me too, right? But I can't live without it. She's so cute. I know. She's 8 years old. She is absolutely my baby. And she is so spoiled. So very, very spoiled. And so very healthy. So yeah, I feed them a food from Costco that's a lot like the farmer's dog. I've only started feeding them that premium food since Coco was diagnosed with the cancer, and after the cancer came back, I thought, well, maybe this other food will be healthier for her, and if it's not healthier for her, it's at least more enjoyable if her days are numbered. And I recommend that type of stuff, like not necessarily the farmer's dog brand, but just whatever premium food that they sell in the refrigerator. First of all, it's a lot less gross, and so their poop is also a lot less gross, so it's better for you, even though it's expensive. It has made them like different animals. Like they were already really happy, but they are just like super dogs now. Yeah, you're a super dog, aren't you? So she's half Chiweenie, but I always say she thinks she's all wiener dog. Not as cute as mom, but still cute. Oh, you're hilarious, Astrospace. You're so kind. You're so funny. So, I was going to show you guys a picture that my kids found of me recently from when I was like 19 or 20. Maybe I'll put it in the, what do you call that? The community post. It's pretty wild. I don't even know if you'd recognize me. I was so young. I was just a baby. But my kids found it and they're just like, Mom. I mean, just because I kind of look a little fancy in the picture, a little dressed up. And I think I had makeup on, which I hardly ever do. Show the cute pic, please. LOL. I would if I had it right handy, but I will take a picture of it and put it on my community posts. I've been doing community posts the last few days since I haven't been making as many videos. And let's see. I think I've done 3 in the last week. I'm trying to pull them up since my brain doesn't work to remember what they are. Man, my phone is so hosed up. I really need to go get a new phone. Oh, look, I'm on live. Okay, so yesterday I posted a bunch of cool like nativity photographs, and it might have been yesterday, it might have been the night before, because it says 1 day ago, but you guys know that YouTube lies to you, right? It like keeps things fresh for an extra day. So if it says it was 1 day ago, it was probably 2 days ago. And they're really nice screenshots of things I found on the internet, just beautiful nativity art scenes. Okay, and then 2 days ago, and again, it still says 1 day ago. I know for a fact that this was 2 days ago. when I put up the Madeline Soto, Micah Miller were both have their first Heavenly Christmas, and it's just heartbreaking. These daughters of God deserved to live free of harm, and the people who victimized them need to face justice, in my humble opinion. So the little photograph that I have of Maddie, she looks like she's about 4 or 5, but she's in a Tinkerbell outfit, looking as cute as a bug's ear. And then there's a photograph of Micah when she was probably like, I'm going to guess like 9 or 10 years old. And she was such a beautiful little girl too. And oh, it's just devastating. So I'm glad I looked at this. I knew there was a reason I was looking at this. This is really important. You guys have heard about the open artificial intelligence engineer who raised concerns about the technology that he was helping with, that he unalived himself in his San Francisco apartment. Let's see. So I put a link to the video in my community post. So is his name Searchy Balaji? Suchirbalaji. Is that right? Suchir Balaji, a former open AI engineer from the Bay Area and a whistleblower. So we're seeing a lot of this with whistleblowers. Remember, I've always said this in my true crime channel, that there's a lot of laws to protect whistleblowers, but they really don't have any teeth. And it's good that there are the laws there. You shouldn't even need to have them because, anyway, a lot of whistleblowers from Boeing kept coming up unalive, like in the middle of their depositions. You know, if their depositions were like stretched out over a week or a few days, like literally midstream, they're just, oh, not alive anymore. So a whistleblower who helped train the artificial intelligence systems behind ChatGPT was found deceased in his San Francisco apartment. And this is just a few days ago, you guys. We got to look into this more because it's so frightening. It's bad enough with, should I play one of these real quick? The dark side of artificial intelligence before he passed away. Let me play this real quick.
Mysterious turn of events. 26-year-old Suchir Balaji, a former researcher at OpenAI, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment on November 26th. The San Francisco Medical Examiner's Office ruled his death as suicide, stating that there was no evidence of a foul play. However, his untimely passing has left many questions unanswered, specifically given the serious allegations that he made against the AI industry shortly before his death. Now, this is the story of a young genius with Indian roots, a bright career in artificial intelligence, and a bold whistleblower who dared to expose what he believed was unethical practices of AI companies like OpenAI. Let's understand who Suchir Balaji was, what he stood for, and the revelation that shook the world of AI. Born and raised in Cupertino, California,
why aren't we hearing more about
Indian American parents, Suchir was a child prodigy. He excelled in programming competitions from a very early age, winning prestigious competitions like a Berkeley Programming Contest and ranking 31st at the ACM ICPC World Final in 2018. With all these achievements, he even placed 7th in Skakels Passenger Screening Algorithm Challenge, backing a whooping $1 lakh prize. He was no ordinary programmer. Suchir's brilliance earned him accolades like US Open 2016 National Champion in Computing and a place at USACO finalist. Even before graduating, he worked for companies like Scale AI and Quora. Back in 2020, Suchi joined OpenAI following a stream of Berkeley graduates who were captured by the promise of artificial intelligence. But behind his remarkable achievements was deeply reflective mind, one that questions the very ethics of the technology that he was helping to build. From his
So
teenage
sad.
years, Suchir was very fascinated by AI. Back in 2023 interview with the New York Times, he revealed, "I thought AI could use to solve unsolvable problems, like curing disease and stopping aging. I imagine
Stopping
people
aging.
missed some kind of science that could help
Scary.
humanity. But over the time, that dream began to shatter. Let me tell you what exactly happened at OpenAI. For nearly 4 years, Suchir worked at OpenAI. One of his main roles involved gathering and organizing the enormous data sets that trained the models like ChatGPT. Initially, he didn't think much of whether OpenAI was legal right to use the vast amount of data it scrapped from the internet. But when ChatGPT was launched in late 2022, he started to reconsider. He began to see a darker side of AI development, one that relied heavily on copyrighted material without any proper authentication. In his words, this practice was not just illegal, but it was also harmful to internet ecosystem as a whole. By 2024, Suchir felt that he could no longer contribute to what he called a technology that was doing more harm than good.
Wow.
In August 2024, he left OpenAI with no immediate job lined up, saying that he wanted to focus on personal projects.
Here, I better pause this just so I'm breaking it up, because I don't know all the ins and outs of using other material. So this is just 3 minutes and 35 seconds into this 8-minute video. I'll stop it right there, since, like I keep saying, I'm on kind of a tight time frame and you get the basic idea. And then I'll link it in the description if you want to see more of it. It's from a channel called Times XP. So it usually takes me a couple hours to get all the links in the description of the video. I try to get them done as quickly as I can so that people watching the video can find anything if they might be looking for it. But Fred, I'm definitely with you on that. About as useful as an order of protection in a domestic violence case. Yeah, it's severely frightening that whistleblowers are just coming up unalived with no suspicion of any foul play. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Thanks for being here, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign off like I keep saying I'm going to. I promise I'm doing it now. Love and light. Have a very awesome rest of your day. I hope that you can get some fresh air and sunshine, maybe some exercise, definitely some relaxation, and good nutrition. Stay hydrated, and I will see you on the next one. Love and light. Yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and see you soon. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Wait, what's going on? How come it's not doing what it's supposed to do? All right, see you on the next one.